Apple's iPhone 8 and 8 Plus were definitely good phones, but let's be real, there is one device out there that a lot of you have been really waiting to see, and that's probably this. This is the new iPhone 10. We just got it yesterday, so there is no way we were going to present you with a half-baked review. So instead we wanted to run you through some of the big features and some of the stuff that I think you'll find most interesting about the iPhone 10. So let's dive right in. First off, can we just talk about how this thing looks? The iPhone 10 is probably the best looking iPhone ever made, although that's probably not saying a whole lot because Apple's industrial design has stayed pretty consistent over the years. This is the first real major break from that design language we've seen in quite some time, and I'm really excited to kind of take it through its paces. We've got glass on the front and the back, and they kind of converge in the middle at this very well-built stainless steel frame. This feels incredible, and it gives the phone a lot of weight. I've let a few people hold this phone so far, and they all sort of agree with me. The heft of the stainless steel gives the phone an air of premiumness, which frankly you would expect out of a phone that costs $1,000. Apple's OLED screen, by the way, which is a 5.8-inch panel corner to corner, is one of the nicest I've ever seen. If you're coming from a Samsung device or an LG, you'll notice some differences. I think Samsung definitely really likes those punchy, bold, vivid colors, and that's here to an extent. But the iPhone 10, as I'm told, has been tuned for much more natural colors. So you're going to see a lot less of the glaring in-your-face colors that you might have noticed on a device like the Galaxy Note 8. Again, I think that's totally a matter of personal preference. I love Samsung screens, and that's probably not ever going to change. But I do have to appreciate Apple's approach here. It does seem a little more subtle, but by no means bad. You might like it, you might not, but there's a lot to like about the execution here. There is obviously no home button on the iPhone 10, so you're going to be using your face to unlock this more often than not. And I have to tell you, I've been using this phone for about 12 hours, and it's been working incredibly quickly with the face unlocking. The setup process is a little weird. You sort of look at your phone and you do the full circle with your head, and it's a little embarrassing to do in public, but aside from that, it does seem to work really well. I am really curious though what this means for the future of Apple products. Touch ID only recently wound up in the MacBook Pros, so are we going to see that kind of fade out sooner rather than later? We're not sure, but I will say in the meantime, the face unlocking does seem to work pretty well. There are a few people in the office who I sort of look similar to, and I've tried seeing if they can unlock the phone with their face, and they cannot. I haven't gotten a professional mask made to try and fool the phone, although we might be working on that, so stay tuned. There is a lot of magic happening in this notch up here, which, by the way, just kind of in general use, I've kind of forgotten about. Throw on a couple of decent looking videos, and within 10 or 15 seconds, you just sort of focus on the content and not worry about what's on the side so much, which is actually a bit of a pleasant surprise. I thought it would be a whole lot more annoying, but it's actually, I could live with it without too much trouble. Anyway, I was talking about other stuff you can do with the front-facing camera, and obviously, an emoji is definitely going to be a thing. If you haven't seen it before, the phone uses the infrared sensor baked into the notch here to sort of grasp what it is your face is doing and then map those facial expressions onto an emoji. There are about 9 right now. My favorite is obviously the poop, although the pig, which I feel very strongly speaks to who I am inside, is also a close second. But it's a lot of fun. You do sort of get to see this weird little animated creature talk with your voice and emote the way you emote. And it's bizarre, and I can definitely see people not loving this feature, but it does work well, and I've actually had quite a bit of fun sending it to people who don't have iPhone 10s yet. It is cross-platform, so you can send these files to people with iPhones and without. If you send it to someone with a non-iPhone device, they'll just get a little video clip in their inbox, which, by the way, you yourself can also save and post to your social networks, which I'm sure all of you will do come Friday. Now, the iPhone 10 ships with iOS 11, and because that is functionally the same as what you get on other iPhones, you are most likely not going to experience a whole lot of cognitive dissonance as you try and start using this new phone. But since there is no home button, Apple has had to rewrite the rulebook on some of the core interactions that you might be used to with older iPhones. So for example, you swipe up to go back to your home screen. If you swipe up and hold it for a little bit, that'll bring up your multitasker. So you'll have your little app windows. You can scroll through them as you always could, but you can no longer swipe up to get rid of them. You actually have to press and hold them and hit a button in the corner, which frankly is a little annoying. It seemed very polished in older versions of the iPhone, so I kind of miss that, but I think I'm probably gonna get used to that speed fairly soon. Other than that, the keyboard works as well as it always did, although there is a lot of extra space underneath it now. If you're using it to send messages, you'll see the emoji toggle on one corner and the dictation button in the other, but there's just a lot of empty room down there, and it feels a little weird. It seems like kind of an afterthought. Apple had to kind of make that work somehow, and it doesn't always look great, which frankly, I don't love. I should also point out, it's not super obvious, but reachability, that feature you might be used to where you double tap the home button to bring the screen down so you don't have to reach your hand up as much, that is here too. You have to jump into the settings to enable it, and you actually activate it by swiping this little dark bar at the bottom. It takes a little getting used to. I'm still very bad at it, but I'm also not the kind of person who used that a lot to start with. So if that is something you like to use, it's there, but you're gonna need to give it a little bit of time. We haven't had too much time with the device, but we do have to talk about the camera. This is, for the most part, the same camera that we saw in the iPhone 8 Plus. So you've got a 12 megapixel wide angle camera paired with a 12 megapixel telephoto camera, but here's what's new. The telephoto camera itself now has optical image stabilization, and the aperture has been bumped from f2.8 to f2.4. So basically, in lower light, you should get better performance. The telephoto camera has always been not quite the afterthought, but it's definitely been the camera you use less. The wide angle camera is the 1X. It's the default camera that you use when you launch the app. So it's nice to see Apple take a little bit of time and actually, frankly, give people who care about the camera an actual reason to buy an iPhone 10 over an iPhone 8 Plus. The front-facing camera has seen some upgrades as well. It's a 7 megapixel sensor that allows you to shoot selfie portraits, which work about as well as they did using the rear camera. That is to say, they generally look pretty good, but some of the studio lighting modes look a little strange. All told, I'm not sure the iPhone 10 is as exciting as a device as we were hoping it would be, but it's nothing if not impressive. Even just on a technical level, the fit and finish is supremely good, even by Apple standards, and there's a lot of important software work here to kind of make everything feel seamless, especially on a device with no home button. We're going to take a little bit more time to put together our full review, so thank you for watching, and if you have any questions for us as we continue to work on getting you the best iPhone review possible, let us know.